Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Alright, so for tonight, running at night again, I swear. Listen, tomorrow we're gonna run during the day when I can see things. And if nothing else, because I want to film more while I'm running, and it's just not as worth it to do it at night. And there are lights on the trail that I'm running at, but it's just I'll just film some things as I go along. But yesterday did the 14, ended up the total time on my feet was around 14 and a half. And overall it was decent. It was hard, it was hard. I kind of found my threshold, right? Just like that. I feel like that 11, 12 miles where it's just like, hopefully that'll happen quickly, but my body needs to acclimate to mileage past that, because it sounds crazy to say, but like that's only a little over a tenth of the total race that I'm shooting towards. So it's crazy, like going through this. Your mind, I don't know if it's a coping mechanism sometimes, where it's like my mind is like, oh, like I have a really good long run that's longer than most runs that I do, and it's like, oh, I got this, and then because like that 8-miler that I did on the first official day of training, it was like, yeah, this is another day at the office. It's like, I got this. It's another day at the office for 8 miles, right? So training that, I'm sure like there's a lot going on physiologically that I'm not even super keen on, but a lot of it is probably it's gonna be just the endurance of my muscles to take that much shock over time, and like my spine to support me, right? Like the skeletal system is going to be trained a lot, I'm sure. Like the spongy bone in my bones, like is going to be restructured a lot during this, because that's what happens during exercise. Like that, the webbing in your spongy bones, like the inside of your long bones, restructures and remodels as you add stimulus to it and shock to it. So it's going to be a lot of that going on. And I was listening to the podcast last night, and it was really opening my eyes on just like the multifaceted nature of this stuff. Like they were talking about gut training, like training the expansion of your stomach so that you can take more, and like training yourself to extremes, and kind of training metabolic health with like heat suits and stuff like that, so that your body is as efficient as possible. And with the stomach stuff, and like expanding your stomach, making sure that you can get enough calories in that you need, especially if you're racing for a certain pace, because the faster, the more intense you go, the more, to an extent at least, the larger ratio of carbohydrates you're going to be burning rather than fat, right? So, and honestly, like in a manner of speaking, besides like the shock to your muscles and everything like that, I was realizing yesterday when I was getting farther in, like the faster I was going sometimes, the better it was feeling. And part of that might be exercise economy. If your form is breaking down while you're running, obviously there's happy mediums with all this stuff, but like if your form is breaking down while you're running, and you can't support proper form, you're going to naturally go slower, and then what that's going to do is, because your form is breaking down, you're going to be adding more unnatural shock. Like if you're shuffling, or if you're coming down on the ball of your foot more than the heel, especially if your stride is a typical way, and it's breaking down, and you're 10 miles in on a long run and it's different. I think that's what's happening. That was what was happening to me last night. It was like my form was just different because I was just fatiguing and like from this whole week. Like, I haven't done this high of a mileage of this much mileage in a week, I'll say, in a while. So like, it's accumulating, and when I was going faster, in a way it felt easier, not on my cardiovascular system or things of that nature, and my respiratory system. Like, obviously you feel the intensity increase, but just overall, like, musculoskeletal stress was reduced when I was going faster again, because I was gliding more. It was probably, in a way, evening out the impact of my exercise economy. It was just better. So if you train all that stuff and get that balance of all that stuff, that's one really important thing that I got to focus on, is like, pace actually does matter. Like, the faster you can go, number one, you're going to lean more on carbohydrates, which you can replace better than your fats, right? And then number two is that I was really thinking about yesterday was this gut stuff. So like, yesterday, you know, I stopped at Quick Trip, and I, like, 8 miles into my run, and even though I wasn't super hungry or super like starving for carbs at that point, I was like, let me just like start to get used to eating solids and some of these other liquids than just water while I'm running, because in the future, in 50 miles and 100 miles, like, if I'm able to tolerate more solids and more liquids that actually have carbs in them, I'll be able to get more carbs in, right? And that could really help. And, you know, if I just train my stomach to those conditions gradually, but in a way where I can do that more frequently throughout the race, I think that'll be good. Because a number one thing is, like, you watch some of these documentaries, and people just, they can't eat during it, and they just start breaking down, and they can't get feeling right, because they just, from early on in the race, they started losing, you know, when that acidity increases in your blood, that's part of it too. Like, the circulation to your stomach, like, it might you know, it upsets. I've always been a little more tolerant of that, as far as like solids while I run and stuff, but I think there definitely is a point too where I need to improve and get better at ingesting those carbs while I'm running. And then, you know, if I'm going slower, like, maybe for me, if I can't get my pace up to a certain extent, it's like, maybe focus on replacing a little bit more fats as well. So theoretically, you shouldn't have to worry about that, but, you know, maybe just mentally that'll help and kind of satiate your brain in a way. So with that being said, these are things I'm still learning about. I mean, like, nothing's gospel truth here, but these are some theories I'm working out as well, based off of like some science that I've read and heard and things like that, and real experience with this ultra running stuff. So I know I rambled for a while there. I'm trying to get better at that, but hopefully it's a good ramble. And I'm not really going to have much content other than that today. So I thought I'd just start out with that and do that. And we have 4 to 10 miles on the schedule. I'm going to try to do just a little bit over 4, maybe get to 5, but I'm feeling remarkably good today. Last night was some of the most destroyed I've felt after a long run. And, you know, I've done longer than 13 in my life, or 14 in my life, I should say, but like not much. So like, doing that plus the other mileage from the other week, from the other mileage from earlier in the week, it just, I mean, it had me just down for the count last night. But I'm feeling, as the day went on today, I'm feeling a lot better too, but I want to save some of it and do the max mileage tomorrow, which is going to be 8. So I'm going to kind of temper that out. Definitely not doing 10 tonight, but tomorrow, hopefully in the morning, you know, which is less recovery time, so that those 2 workouts are kind of will kind of compound on each other as far as the stimulus to my muscles and the wear and tear. So we'll just kind of spread it out a little bit, but it should be good. So let's get this 4 to 5 miles done, and then we'll be done for the night, wrap it up, and go from there. So with that being said, I'm not going to talk too much after the run. Something that's been on my mind lately too is like my knees and my hips and my hip muscles, especially the tensor fascial latae, the TFL muscle. I've been very prone to injuries in the past. And I think I've gotten better since I've had those injuries a long time ago. But I definitely, I'm going to start working more body weight exercises in and hopefully show that on camera. But definitely lower body, working on some low intensity and kind of more endurance style lifting. So low intensity, higher rep count. But also do some stability work, maybe some high intensity, just stability, like isometric, which is holding it, not flexing the muscle. If I were to take a resistance band or like even a dumbbell and just hold it up, that would be an isometric exercise, right? So doing some of that for like my hips and just train it for just kind of its strength. But the big thing is going to be the dynamic strength. But some of that peripheral kind of external resistance training is going to really help, I think, prevent injury. So I'm going to do a lot of probably leg lifts and like resistance band, like abduction exercises with my legs, like pulling my legs out with a resistance band attached to really train those hip muscles and the gluteus muscles, to take some of this stuff, because I was really feeling that yesterday. And when those muscles break down, and they can't take as much shock, you get more force from the ground when you're pounding on the ground over and over again, when you're pounding your feet on the ground over and over again. The more of that force is going to go into your bones, right? So we really want to protect the knees. Last night were hurting, but they don't hurt this morning, or they didn't hurt this morning, and they haven't hurt the whole day, so it should be good. But that's stuff for the future that I intend to include more on. But as of right now, we got 4 to 5 miles, so let's do it. Let's get going. The weather has been, I've been super blessed lately with the weather for this type of training. Right now it's currently 48 degrees, and there's just like a light mist in the air coming down, so that's really refreshing actually when it hits you. So feel blessed. It's beautiful out here right now. A little bit of a fog over the river as I run by it, so we're feeling good. Probably gonna go 5. Probably just gonna do 5, and go from there. We have probably 8 tomorrow morning, so I'm looking forward to it. Let's finish this out. Good morning. It is Monday, November 4th, and I didn't do a summary video last night for my run, so I'll put the stats up here right now. All in all, it was good. It was okay. I walked a little bit more than I would have kind of liked for a 5-mile run, but as I alluded to earlier, I am focusing on just the mileage right now for my training variable. The pace will kind of come later. I am starting to sprinkle some things in, like I am pushing it a little bit on the smaller runs, the shorter runs, I should say. But all in all, the main goal right now is increasing distance. And once we kind of get to a plateau where I'm not very, very sore after every long run, assuming that comes, I will add in some speed work, I think, on the treadmill and hills and strides up hills and stuff like that. I don't want to wait too long to do that. Obviously, I think I'm going to need to do that even if I'm tired and destroyed after a long run. But for now, I'm going to give it probably 2 weeks to allow my body to adapt a little bit. But other than that, I think this was something I was kind of getting at earlier too, is that speed is going to be more important than I initially thought. So some things are already evolving in my brain as far as that stuff goes. So if I have more gears to give during any particular mile in these races, that's going to allow me more exercise tolerance for the whole race. So I don't know, I've always kind of looked at speed and endurance as kind of separate things, because speed plays more to a power aspect in your body. So basically just how well your muscles and motor units can fire at one given time. But really, as I'm thinking about it and I'm going through these runs, and having kind of been deconditioned to an extent from the last time I was training high mileage, I am just stuck at one gear. And part of that is I haven't had a full kind of, I don't think I've been fully rested for any of these runs yet, really. But overall, it still feels like I'm just stuck at one gear. So that's going to be more of a focus than I thought moving forward, is doing some speed work so that my exercise tolerance, I think, overall will just be better. I have more of a range of gears that I can shift into, right? And that speaks to what I was talking about earlier, which is, each, as far as what your exercise economy looks like, what your form looks like each version of that, to an extent, is going to have a kind of a different effect on your body. Like going slow, yeah, it stresses certain it stresses certain parts of you less, namely, your circulatory system, your respiratory system, cardiovascular system. It stresses those less in a way, but it might actually stress the musculoskeletal system out a little bit more if you're going so slow to the point where your form is just breaking down naturally because you're not actually moving fast enough. You're not walking, but you're not running. And I really think that's a thing. So I'm going to focus on trying to get rid of that, where I'm just really starting to break down. So with that being said, I also forgot to put up the run. Well, I didn't forget, but I lost some footage. There was some footage that I couldn't get into the editing software for some reason, from the 14-mile run. So I'll put the stats up for that right here. That was 2 nights ago now. Because this is the morning after last night's 5-mile run. And then I'll have a new video for today. So if you can follow that timeline. But either way, we have 4 to 8 miles today, I believe. I don't want to misspeak, so let me look at my plan here. But it should be 4 to 8 miles. Let's see. Yeah, 4 to 8 miles. So let's see. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, but we'll see you in the next one. And as always, God bless.